Hi everyone, my name is Lily. Welcome to Dear Jess. Dear Jess is a grief support channel for those who are grieving the death of their very best friend. My best friend died almost 3 years ago. Her name was Jess. I also call her Jessie. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of telling those who you love that you love them, and the importance of looking through memories, looking through text. This video really could be useful for anyone, and if anybody can learn from it, that's awesome. Honestly, this is kind of impromptu today. I found something last night that just made me want to share something that my friend wrote. I'll share that here in a moment. My friend was amazing at sharing with those who she loved that she loved them. She was big on Facebook. She was always posting beautiful things. She was very active in some of the support group communities for her illness. And I know I haven't talked about her story yet. I'll do that someday. I am not a Facebooker. I'm not a technology person. Just making these videos for me has been very much outside my comfort zone. But I believe there is such a need for this channel. I think that it would have helped me so much, and I just want to help others out there to not feel alone. So my friend was amazing at writing wonderful things to those whom she loved. And in retrospect, I believe that is because she experienced grief at a young age in the death of her mom when we were in high school. And so she became wonderful at sharing her love for others. I have found so many beautiful things that my friend has written on Facebook with her full well knowing them, that I probably was never going to see them. You know, at the time that she wrote many of these, she didn't know she was going to die. It's not like she was writing this so I would see them in the future. She just did it to share. And later when she did, of course, she wrote these things down for her son when he's older and for people to see. But through my grief, I have found that it is so important to tell others when you think it, how much they mean to you. Because you never know when it's your last day. Why am I putting this on my channel? As a friend, some of the isolation that I felt after my friend died sometimes got me wondering, maybe I made it up. It sounds crazy, but I think maybe I made it up. Maybe I was never as close to her as I think, or, you know, and that's because when your friend dies, I'm not hearing about her life all the time. I'm not calling up her husband and saying, what's going on? You know, I don't know. I'm not intimately involved anymore because she's gone. And suddenly I think like, it's isolating in this way that it's just so hard, so difficult for me to put into words. I began to question, like, what if she doesn't know how much I loved her? What if I didn't tell her? And sometimes I would think of so many things I wish I'd said. There are so many times that later, after she died, that I was going through boxes of letters or, you know, old texts, that I would see something that I didn't remember that I told her, and suddenly I felt glad that I told her these beautiful things. She was so good at telling me. I love you. We're so important, you know, to each other's lives. She had this way of speaking that sometimes I thought, you know, gosh, like, can we just chill out and watch this movie? And again, in retrospect, I think that she had learned this traumatically at a young age, to just tell people she loves them. And why am I saying put it in writing? Because I still find beautiful things that I told her, beautiful things that she told me. You know, I have a different relationship. I have a different knowledge of my uncle, for instance, in my own, you know, different unrelated relationship. There was something that he said at a get-together once several years ago that I was always so grateful for, and I never thanked him. And I wrote him a letter, a very short letter once, to say, hey, you remember that time when? I've always thought that was so wonderful of you. And it was just a simple letter, but he opened up and shared something back with me. And I think differently. I think, I've told my uncle that I love him, and it was something that was so easy to do. And it opened up this line of communication that we otherwise never would have had. And I'm doing this video for you because it's healing. It is healing to go through. If you have any letters of your friends, if you have texts of your friends, anything, if you scribbled something, look through it, because there are things that you have forgotten that will be instrumental to your healing. And for God's sake, tell those around you that you love them. So this is what I want to share. Last night I was on my computer doing something else, and I have a folder that says Jessie. And I knew in general it was in the folder. After she died, we made lots of pictures for her funeral. But there was things that I was so out of it in the days after she died that I was just on autopilot, moving forward with things that needed to be done. And her other friends said, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to write this story. And her other friends said, like, here's this beautiful thing that she wrote, and we're going to put it in a book. And I forgot this even happened because I was in this world of move forward, pain, grief, shock. It was something that she wrote the month before she died. And she talks about her loves in her life. She talks about beautiful things. And I don't know that it's my place to share it all with you. And I hope this doesn't seem conceited, but she wrote this beautiful thing about me. And when I feel forgotten, when I feel like I wasn't her husband, I wasn't her sister, I wasn't the thing that everybody knows, right? There was a whole article in the paper about her once. And, it talks about who's surviving, and this sounds so conceited, but it's just this, you're forgotten as the friend. And I want people to know that I loved her, and I know I have all these memories, and I don't want to be forgotten. I don't want my relationship with her to be forgotten. I don't want her to be forgotten. And suddenly it's what happens, right? So when I find these things that she said that make me remember that, like, what we had was real, when I find them that I wrote to her, that she wrote to me, it helps. And so, tell your mom you love her. Tell your sister. Tell your coworkers when they do something amazing, because when you put it off, you might never do it, and you just never know. Life is short. So just briefly, I'm not going to read all of this. She talks about the loves in her life, and she talks about her parents and her husband and her son, and just so many people who, she talks about the love in her life. So she talks about first her parents, and then after her parents, she talks about all the parents she talks about the love that God gave her, that got her through things. She talks about her parents and the love that they gave her. And then she says, my next constant love was that of a true best friend. Sorry. I don't want this channel to be me. I don't want this channel to just be me crying all the time. So I'm sorry. And sometimes I'm looking at this. Okay. I'm new at this. So just bear with me, people. Okay. So here's the paragraph that was for me. Of course, I loved it all. I love when she talks about all of her everything in her whole life. But it made me happy to remember that I'm not crazy, that I loved her, that we had an important thing. So she says, my next constant love was that of a true best friend. How awkward are we? I see you worry that you aren't normal. You see me and know I'm not normal. We were real to each other. So we try to give each other our normal. We always walk away feeling better about ourselves, our growing families, and the society we are creating a culture in. It only takes one person to stand up to think differently, and that inspires us to step out of line to create a positive impact. Then she talks about her third constant love was her husband. So she just says that her first constant love was her parents, her next was me, and then her third is her husband. And then, of course, she talks about her son. And she says, love has been my constant. Not always the same person here on earth, but perfect love sent to me exactly when I needed it from my Heavenly Father. The love you have is all you need to keep rising and fighting no matter what knocks you down. And she says, she shows her strength now because of her son. Anyway, I don't want to share all that stuff, but I'm gonna go now. I always cry at the end of these videos, sorry. Until next time, please remember that you are not alone. Your pain is real, and the person that you loved matters and still does. Thanks for listening.